Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Bitcoin Brief with your host, Tone Vays, coming to you live from Cape Town, South Africa. I am by the coast. It got cold here in a hurry, so we are going to get the show on the road. And by popular demand, Giacomo Zucco, the man himself, is finally back on the show. Man, Giacomo, I wish you had your job back. I wish BNB Network was bad. You had a much clear schedule, which
Yeah,
unfortunately now it's hard to get you on a show. How you been, man?
I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, it's true. When I was working full time as a CEO, I had a easier time to connect with the show than now that I'm theoretically a family man with a lot of free time. But I managed to feel all the free time somehow. I don't know how.
All right, and Jimmy Song, thank you for coming back to the show.
You know me, man. This is my bread and butter. I love talking about this stuff. So let's get going.
I know, this is great. All right, guys, without any further ado, let's jump right into the stories. And we're going to, because my internet connection may or may not be stable, we are going to go right into the meat and potatoes of this show. So we begin, of course, with Jimmy Song's most recent article um, titled Trace Mayer and the Perils of Being a Non-Technical OG, Bitcoin Tech Talk issue number 177. And you begin with the Warren Buffett quote that states, "It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it." We'll let Jimmy sum this up, even though we briefly talked about it on our last show. And then Giacomo will have free reign because he had some very interesting things to say on Twitter following the Unconfiscatable conference. Jimmy, give us a quick summary.
Yeah. So basically, Trace Mayer was shilling Mimblewimble coin, which we found out is a clone of Grin. Grin launched in January 2019. Mimblewimble coin launched in November of 2019. The only real difference is the pre-mine of 50% that was given to Mimblewimble coin. Turns out that their developers aren't that good. We discussed the article from Hotbit. Essentially, they released a wallet tool for these exchanges, and the wallet had trouble recognizing 51% attacks. So it thought that it received money when it actually didn't because the 51% attack was happening. And as a result, they lost somewhere around the range of like 90,000 Mimblewimble coin, or it might be 900,000. So either one of those. Um, and they complained about it, wrote a really long post about it, and then they took it down because apparently the Mimblewimble coin people bribed them with the rest of the pre-mine that they had. The pre-mine, by the way, was airdropped to a bunch of Bitcoin holders based on whether or not you registered. And we were speculating that Trace Mayer was one of those people that got airdropped a bunch of tokens because most Bitcoin people didn't even know about this token and they didn't register for the airdrop. We know that Trace Mayer is a whale. He's been accumulating since Bitcoin's been 25 cents. So he has a lot of Bitcoin. So given the portion of Bitcoin that he has and the very few amount of Bitcoin holders that actually register for the pre-mine for this coin, I was speculating in this article that he probably received a lot of Mimblewimble coin, possibly in the millions range. And remember, this is a coin with a supply cap of 20 million. So he has a significant stake in Mimblewimble coin. And it seems that that's why he was shilling it at the Unconfiscatable conference and why he was so enthusiastic about it in the various interviews that I've found since November of 2019.
All right. So Giacomo, how do you? There was an awesome tweet from One Gold. Like I had no idea any of this was actually happening because I was too busy running the conference. But in hindsight, after One Gold released his TMZ style footage of the scammies, we found it was so funny that you called out Trace Mayer and I called him up to read the winner. And that was just pure
Yeah,
irony because I
exactly.
actually had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't tell you because at that very moment I wasn't sure I was going to tell anything explicitly in general because the point is that the people who gave me that horrible shilling ticket was just two of my students of the workshop, and so I didn't want to dox them anyhow. But later on, after the day after, American Hodl and a lot of other people came out with the same story. So I decided that I could give my students a good anonymity set. So I think that there are at least two things here to consider. The first is on the merit of the thing itself. Okay, so Bitcoin derangement syndrome is real, and many OGs are going crazy over time. Are getting, I don't know, are getting either they get mad with ego, or they get mad with greed, and they start to shitcoin. That's a given at this point. A lot of people is doing that. Specifically, I suspected since a few months that this new narrative about CoinJoin and Bitcoin exchanges was just another FUD in order to sell your favorite shitcoin. So anytime you over represent fears and concerns, which are always legit. I mean, we should be always concerned about fungibility and quantum resistance and whatever. But when somebody starts discussing a lot about quantum resistance with some inaccuracies, then you know that he's going to sell you the quantum resistant coin. And so all this attention by Trace and by the Bitcoin, the head Bitcoin Twitter profile about which somebody thinks is connected with Trace, with the coin join, this is FUD about that. I suspected it was connected with this kind of shilling, but I didn't know it was going to be something so explicit. And except for the thing itself, the shitcoin shilling, what is was really incredible to me was the way, the style, the style decision by Trace. So you are at the conference Unconfiscatable, which is explicitly marketed as Bitcoin, not blockchain, which is something where maximalists are going to talk about shitcoins in a very explicit way. I mean, it's organized by Tom Vays, and people like Trace should know what Tom Vays thinks about shitcoins. So the choice of the conference was incredible. Within the conference, the choice of the moment in which start the shilling was actually the scammy awards. So you wait for the moment in which we are making fun of the shitcoins in order to try to seriously convince people into buying your own pre-mined shitcoins. I don't know. It's either a blindness toward irony, or I don't know what it is. And then the third thing was, this is what actually triggered me a lot, was that it didn't targeted me or you. It didn't go to people that he knew were going to challenge this kind of discussion. It didn't go to other speakers. It went to students of the technical seminaries, including my two students, and that was the thing that really triggered me, because these people spend money and time in order to come to a conference and to a workshop to be educated and informed about Bitcoin with low noise and high signal. And Trace decided to target these people in order to try to shield the shitcoin. And the way he did it with this, we call it the fortune cookie. Basically, he gave them these ridiculous tickets with like Mimblewimble coin is good money because it's like super fungible and saleable, and 100x in Bitcoin price, moon soon. I mean, really something that in comparison to that, Richard Hart is really stylish and discreet and serious. I mean, I understand now how you can take seriously Richard Hart, because in comparison, Trace uh, was orders of magnitude more trash than that. So yeah, so you didn't know anything, and nobody knew anything, and then we had the Scammy Awards, and you put the Mimblewimble and Green and Beam in the same category, and so I decided to say that, but I didn't go explicit in order to let Trace know. And then you called Trace on stage without knowing anything, and he was going basically to present the same category that he was already representing with his own private shilling. So it was very, very funny. I agree. I still don't understand why, even if I understand why people do shitcoin in general, because they're greedy or they are egomaniac, I don't understand why you should do that in that way, in that conference. The level of trash of that kind of shilling was without any, I mean, it was off scale.
Tone, you're muted.
All right. Giacomo, you muted. I didn't know if you were done or not, but yeah. No, thanks for that info. And so as like, I guess as an exit question, like, how do you think this ends? Because this isn't the first time Trace is promoting an altcoin, and it's pretty obvious he's just, you know, being opportunistic in order to profit from the altcoin. But I think just based on the time and the place, how this happened, and the Mimble coin is unreasonably scammy. I mean, it's on the level of Hex scammy, like you said, Giacomo. And where the other ones, I mean, Pivx wasn't that different. These are just like clones. There's no innovation here. So, um, I mean, we'll see if Trace comes back from this, but it just looks really, really bad. That's all I can say, really. Like the optics of the situation are terrible.
I agree. It was it's really, I don't understand in his mind what was going to be the outcome of this. I mean, also the amount of money you could pump in a physical conference is anyway limited. So you are really literally giving away your reputation for nothing. So it seems something. I mean, the explanation cannot be just money, because you are going to destroy your reputation with people you know and people who respected you for what? I mean, what can a Bitcoin workshop student afford to pump into a shitcoin? Maybe 10K. Is that going to change the pump and dump scheme for Trace? Not really. So yeah, it's crazy, literally crazy. Many people were surprised.
Well, so I mean, I have a slightly different take on this. To some degree, like a lot of these OG non-technical Bitcoiners, right? Like we and Tone and I have talked a lot about this on the show. A lot of people that are non-technical that got into Bitcoin early, that made a lot of money doing it. There's a tendency to think of themselves as sort of like geniuses that saw everything early and that everything that they touch is gold, and that's their sort of mentality around all of this. So in a way, I can kind of see why he would think that doing something like this is a good idea, because in his mind, he saw Bitcoin early. He saw it in 2010, and that's to his credit. But you know, like having done that, like that's his cred to everybody else, and that you know, despite him not being very technical, he thinks he can convince people because this is how non-technical people think. And this is exactly what happened with like Roger Ver and many other people that were at one point, you know, Bitcoiners, but you know, they think they're smarter than they are because they kind of lucked into Bitcoin. Really, if you understood the technical merits of Mimble coin, which there really aren't any, then you would have like dropped that thing like a hot potato. This is why there's like no technical person like backing Mimble coin, right? Like there's no Bitcoin OG going and saying, oh, we need to do Mimble coin because that's so awesome. It had to be somebody that was non-technical that didn't realize like any of this stuff, and you know, at some point it just sort of happens that way, and that's it's a sad reality. I think I listed a bunch of people in my article. You know, Roger Ver, Rick Falfing, you know, Krista Rose, lots of people that aren't technical that think they're geniuses because they saw Bitcoin early. To some degree, they just kind of lucked into it.
That's actually a good point. I remember the debate with you, Jimmy, and you, Tone, and Roger Ver on the cruise, and actually the very pivotal moment was when Roger said, I think he said, I am the reason Bitcoin is what it is today. I did it once with Bitcoin and can do it again with Bitcoin Cash. So it's really like this kind of illusion of superpowers, because they were uh, smart enough or lucky enough to get Bitcoin soon. So now they really think that they can create things like Bitcoin out of thin air. And so maybe it's not just greed, it's really like megalomaniac like personality disorder or something like that.
Well, we call it Bitcoin derangement syndrome for a reason. They think they're way smarter than they are because they got into Bitcoin early, or in some way, a lot of them they kind of lucked into it to some degree, and they haven't really contributed much other than a little bit of marketing.
Which the term Bitcoin derangement syndrome was created by a non-technical early Bitcoiner, which is Max. So we have to keep Max under strict control.
Oh. And speaking of like, you know, connotations, I guess, of I anytime someone calls me a Bitcoin maximalist, I now correct them and I tell them I'm a shitcoin minimalist. It just makes a lot more sense phrasing it that way. But at the end of the day, it means the same thing. Hey, so I'm just gonna plug Jimmy's article that says on altcoin valuation, and the Mimblewimble coin couldn't fit this article any better. Like if Jimmy wrote this article 3 months later, Mimblewimble coin would have been all over it. So strongly recommend on altcoin valuation as an article to read. All right, guys, time to move on. And we're going to stick to our theme. Giacomo, you haven't been on the show in a while. I don't know if you've been watching the show, but we've been talking a lot about centralized databases. It's mostly been Ethereum. Ethereum is not in the news today. It's not in the news cycle for its centralization aspects of its database. But Steem, it sure as hell is, because ever since Justin Sun bought the Steemit blockchain, he decided to just take it over, which I believe is his full right as the god of the Steemit blockchain going forward. I believe it's his right to completely take it over. And some of the Steemit users, for some God knows what reason, don't seem to appreciate it very much because we all knew it was a centralized database based on 21 people, and Justin Sun decided to replace the 21 people that control the Steemit blockchain. Have you read this story? I found this completely hilarious. Would you like to throw your thoughts in there?
It is hilarious. It's a new tendency of people realizing what we were telling them all along in the last years in a bad way. So it's a typical story of bad awakening. It's similar in a way to people like right now in Bcash. There is basically it's a coin created in order to keep everything under control of the miners. So the narrative of Bcash was don't run your node, just trust the miners. Now the miners are doing nasty stuff that they don't like, and now they think they should run nodes and they understand. Similar thing in Steem. So the problem we always told them, this is centralized. This is just like a company. You're basically how can you have a blockchain that can be took over at all? The fact that this is even possible, you shouldn't protest. You should just realize that your expectation from this is completely disconnected from reality. And now they have a bad awakening because, I mean, think about the sentence. It's beautiful. A guy is acquiring a blockchain. It's beautiful. I mean, what does it mean? It's just like when IOTA people, when they're saying, "Oh, sorry, we had this security problem, so we have to shut down the blockchain or the Tangle because we had this problem." Or all the time we have the centralized exchanges, DEXs, that were closed for maintenance. So sorry, we had to close the decentralized exchange. So this is just like this is a vindication of what we were saying then all the time. Steem was basically it was on your presentation, Tone. Steem was incredible because the white paper was like really an anthology of bullshit with incredible amount of bullshit. And then 99% of the activity on Steem was just people posting stuff on a Medium clone, nothing else. And this token, which has nothing to do with that, pumping for no reason at all, everything just supported by this database that they were calling blockchain for no reason, but it's basically a 12 people federated blockchain. So Justin Sun is a very interesting figure because he's a shitcoiner. He's one of the worst shitcoiner. I mean, Tron's white paper was just copy pasted by other people, but Justin goes to such an extreme that is basically helping out exposing centralized scams because it's basically he is exaggerating. He's like taking the advantage in an extreme way of any kind of centralized scam. now he's acquiring he's acquiring a blockchain, which is incredible. It's beautiful in a way.
Yeah. So as far as I can tell, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry. Oh, okay. All right. So it turns out, so when we reported the story on Steemit being acquired by Justin, we were asking the obvious question: how can you take something decentralized or supposedly decentralized and sell it? It turns out that what Justin Sun got was the Steemit company and not the Steemit blockchain. In order to take over the blockchain, this is what he kind of had to do. And these are the shenanigans that he's had to perform. But essentially, what he acquired with Steemit was a lot of voting power because the Steemit company had control over a lot of the assets on the Steemit blockchain. Now, it turns out that that wasn't enough because there were a bunch of users on Steemit that didn't like the acquisition by Justin. So they wanted to hard fork Steemit, and they had a community proposal. And if you know about Steemit, they have a distributed proof of stake system where I think it's like 12 people or something like that. They essentially vote based on the proof of the stake that they have and so on. So in order to rig this vote, Justin not only used the voting power from the company that he acquired, but he went around to every exchange and basically got them to also go along with his to sort of shut down this hard fork proposal from the community. And that's essentially what this whole drama is all about, is that he went around and basically bought all the votes of these exchanges. And if you know about like pretty much every altcoin other than Bitcoin, most people don't possess their own Steem, right? They keep it on an exchange, or maybe they have it on the Steemit website, something like that. Essentially, what that means is that those people get to vote and not you. So you don't really actually own those coins. And this is the problem with any kind of proof of stake scheme. And this is something that I've been talking about for a long time with Tone, is that proof of stake is no security at all, because most of these coins are going to be on exchanges. And if they get to vote, which they do, then they get to decide where the coin goes. You have no control whatsoever, right? Like no matter how much stake you think you have, they get to do whatever it is that they want. And that's essentially what happened. And these people are just now beginning to realize, oh, is that how it works? I thought, oh, okay. Yeah. So, I mean, this is the situation that they're in.
Yeah,
All right,
I think
so
that
let
probably
me.
we should collect for the future. Yeah, just a flash down. We should collect all the rants of people like, oh, we have to soft fork, we have to run a node in Bcash and in Steem, and we should use that as educational material for the next scam coins. So let's stop having only maximalists testifying about this. Let's have these scammed scammers finally being the witness of their own demise. It will be funny.
Tone, you're muted.
It almost died. I had to plug in a portable charger. Okay, so real quick, I'm gonna. There were a couple. I am keeping an eye on the comments. There was a comment relating to our last story. I'm just gonna answer it real quick, and then we're gonna continue with the Steemit story. So this one, it says, the person says, Jimmy Song, in 2 different interviews last year, Trace said that he missed the Mimblewimble registration and could not free claim in December 2019. So are you saying that Trace is flat out lying in these interviews? Let me answer this one. Here's what we're saying. Jimmy, myself, and Giacomo have all lost our Bitcoins in a boating accident long ago, okay? And we will lose our Bitcoin in a future boating accident going forward. It doesn't matter what anyone in Bitcoin says. Now, you may think that Bitcoin is fully anonymous or not fully anonymous, and it doesn't matter. What we say on this YouTube channel or any other YouTube channel is completely irrelevant. All that matters is your actions. And whether Trace claimed or didn't claim his Bitcoin his Mimblewimble coin from his Bitcoin is irrelevant, because the current actions of promoting something that is clearly a terrible thing is the important part of the equation, not what the person has actually done, which we will never be able to prove or disprove. Anyone have an opinion or disagree with anything I just said?
No,
I mean,
you're
I agree with
absolutely
you
right.
completely. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
Okay.
it's like asking. So Richard Hard said that he's not in control of the origin address of Hex because it may be a poor third world
Right.
priest in control. That's
Right.
what he said. So
Exactly.
are you implying that Richard Hard is lying? I mean, I don't know, but try to think adversarially. Let's try to think adversarially.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
So
I mean,
yeah,
the
Jimmy,
other thing
real
is that
quick, and
like,
then we're coming back to Steem.
oh, yeah. Just the thing is, if he then, what do you expect him to say? I own 2 million Mimblewimble coin, and this is like his claim to not have registered is a little bit unbelievable given his actions, but also because it would be so transparently obvious beforehand that he's promoting it for his selfish gain rather than for like quote unquote technical merits. I mean, he's been the last few months he's been saying really bad things about join market and things like that and pumping up Mimblewimble. And this was the reason. It was to give some sort of like technical justification for his endorsement.
All right, so now let's get back on Steem and Steemit. Okay, so here's the thing. We get this comment every time. I get this I've been getting this comment for 3 years. But now it's coming in constantly every time we talk about Steem and Steemit. And here's the comment. Charles is the one that wrote the comment, but like 8 people write the same exact comment. I'm gonna read it word for word. Justin bought Steemit, not the Steem blockchain. Okay, that is a huge misunderstanding. The only thing that actually matters is the Steemit website, because the Steem blockchain is a centralized database, probably less efficient than Excel. So the only thing that matters is the website, because there's no such thing as a Steemit blockchain, Steem blockchain, whatever the hell you want to call it. It doesn't exist. It's a centralized database. And Justin Sun proved to you that it's a centralized database, because by buying the website, he basically decided to do whatever the hell he wanted with the Steem blockchain or the centralized database of the Steem website. Okay, Steemit website. So that's the big misconception. And he can do with it whatever the hell he likes because he owns the domain steemit.com or IO or wherever the hell it is. Because at the back end of it is a proof of stake system, which is no different than an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, I will also add that.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah. So the blockchain itself is clearly a joke. It's basically controllable by 12 people, as Jimmy explained. But even if some rich users could try to stop Justin from using that kind of distributed database, even in that case, this database it's all supposed to everything this database is supposed to do is tracking the ownership of one coin, which should represent the wealth created by people posting on Steemit website. So all the narrative of the token is to somehow represent the activity on the publishing platform. So if you take away the publishing platform, even in that case in which you don't control the Excel spreadsheet, which he will anyway, but even if he didn't control the spreadsheet, he will still be in complete control of the value proposition of the token itself, because that was all about the Steemit website anyway.
All right, and I just want to add one final thing on this Steemit thing. I couldn't find it in the article, but it's somewhere in the article where the people that are complaining about what Justin Sun is doing, actually, like someone quoted that Justin Sun and CZ and the exchanges are somehow breaking the law by doing it. I honestly, I wish I can find it's somewhere in here, but like I should have highlighted it. I find that so hilarious that somehow what Justin Sun is doing is breaking some kind of a fictional law that doesn't exist, yet the creation of the Steem currency is fully within someone's right to their own not breaking any laws whatsoever.
This is
All right,
very nice.
let's go ahead and
I
leave it
look
here.
forward for actually, you know that Udi Vermeyer, trolling people on Twitter, many times proposed Justin to acquire consensus and Ethereum in general. And it was always a joke, but I really look forward for the day in which Justin Sun will acquire Ethereum and consensus, and that will be so funny.
Oh, you know what? I gotta hand it to Justin Sun, right? Like most scammers just make a bunch of money and disappear. But he's actually using his money to take over other projects, which is hilarious.
Yeah. From entertainment value produced by Justin is high, at least.
All right. Um, let's go over some good news for a change, not for companies like UnoCoin, whose co-founders got arrested over in India, but in a very surprising move, the Supreme Court of India, which I didn't even know actually existed, but it's good to know that they have a Supreme Court. The Supreme Court went against the Central Bank of India and said that Bitcoin trading is not actually, illegal, though I'm not sure what it means because the central bank still controls the banking sector, and they're not going to let you work with Bitcoin. So this was a little surprising. I'm not sure it changes anything, but at least it's good to know that there are some judges out there that have reason. General thoughts, Jimmy, why don't you go?
Well, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily reason. Whenever it comes to political things like this, it's usually taking into consideration like where the rivalries are and who doesn't like whom, and what they're getting out of it or what they're using it as leverage for, and if it's like a punishment for something else that they did or something like that. I mean, it's good news for people in India. Hopefully, this will eventually open up markets or at least peer-to-peer trading without fear of arrest or something like that. And I know, for example, my programming Bitcoin book is available in India in English, and there's a publisher that sells it. So hopefully, my book sales go up, and more developers come out of India that can program in Bitcoin instead of being scared off by stuff like this. So I think I see it as good news, but again, like the regulatory stuff is just like, man, I really hate going into that mud,
Yeah, go for it, Jacko.
Yeah, so basically, I agree with Jimmy. That there is never a very straight logic underpinning a political decision. It's always a little bit messy, and it's about also theatrical representation, and narrative, and internal fights. Overall, Bitcoin doesn't care. So any kind of news of this kind, it's irrelevant for Bitcoin because Bitcoin was designed to explicitly not needing the permission from the the Indian government. So Bitcoin doesn't care. But that said, people, individual Bitcoiners, they do care because if you live in India and if you risk arrest for owning Bitcoin or not, that changes a lot for you. And if you can operate a business in your country about Bitcoin or you can't, and so you need to move or to operate it in the going dark, that changes a lot for you personally. So Bitcoin doesn't care, but specific Bitcoiners do care. So this is a good news. I just hope that this doesn't become the new China. Like now India may ban Bitcoin every 6 months, like China did ban Bitcoin every 6 months for basically 4 years. And so maybe they will start going back and forth in ban. Now we were joking, and now we ban it again, and so on.
All right, thanks for keeping this one short. We got two more stories. Maybe we can do them kind of quick as well. Facebook is back in the news with their Libra cryptocurrency. I think that's a disrespect to, I don't even know what a cryptocurrency is anymore, if Libra is one. And apparently Libra has changed directions. Facebook is reportedly rethinking its plans for its own digital currency after resistance from the regulators. Yet I read this little article and I don't see how they're changing any plans. Libra was always going to be backed by a basket of other currencies and assets, and nothing has changed. So what the hell did they change?
Well, the big thing that they seem to have changed is the fact that it's no longer a basket of currencies and that it's the average of them. It's strictly pegged to a particular currency. So in other words, Facebook is launching like 5 stable coins. That's what
I'm sorry, Jimmy, I gotta interrupt here. In the article, it specifically states US dollar and euro. So technically, even if it's just 2, it's still a basket.
No, but it's $1. They'll have a dollar Libra and a euro Libra. At least that's how I read it.
Oh, is that what they're doing? I did not get that idea from the article.
I've read a couple of other articles, and I'm pretty convinced that's the case. They are basically replicating PayPal.
Well, they're
so they're replicating Tether individual country.
Yeah, I mean they're launching 2 stable coins. That's what probably a bunch of them. It says digital versions of established currencies. So it could be the dollar, the euro, probably the yen, maybe. I don't know, some other ones. But I mean, in a sense, this is actually more honest than most shit coins. So, and I can see it actually being useful because Facebook has a lot of users, whereas these shit coins don't.
So clearly there's no need for a blockchain and they won't even have one.
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah,
I don't know why you would want it.
I think, I mean, maybe I'm overestimating Facebook people, but I'm really convinced that this was planned since the beginning. I don't really see the Facebook board members meeting and saying, "Oh, we could just create a new currency displacing the monetary policies of the nation states, and they will just let us go away with that." And then, "Oh, sorry, we cannot. We have to go back to PayPal." I think that what they wanted to do since the beginning was just to recreate PayPal or Alipay. So their plan is just to compete with Alipay and PayPal and stuff like that. That's as basic as that, which is good. I mean, if you are on Facebook, it's nice to have an integrated Revolut or PayPal or Google Pay, Apple Pay. Having Facebook Pay on top of those centralized solution for fiat is nice. It's just another option, is integrated on a big social network. So why not? But imagine Facebook coming up with, we are going to compete with Apple Pay. That's a very boring news. So instead, they rise at the bar. They say, we will create a new cryptocurrency, which will be like a peer-to-peer and stable with a basket of currencies. And then they basically go back to, no, sorry, we will just have euro and dollars on represented by in a digital system, in a closed system, which will be, I think it will be 99% equal to PayPal. Maybe the only difference, which will be a positive difference, will be that most of part of the technology will be open source, which was not the case with PayPal. So if they keep the Libra repository somehow active in order to be used for real for Facebook Pay, then we will have another PayPal, which is not good or bad, but with some open source API and code, which is good in theory.
Okay, and I'm just gonna finish this story off on the following. As if my memory serves me right, the #1 user base of Facebook is India, and the second or the third biggest user base of Facebook is the Philippines, with the US rounding out the top 3. So there's only one question to ask. Will this euro stable coin or US dollar stable coin, and I find the dollar to be a more stable coin than the euro, will the users of India and the users of the Philippines have access to the Libra, whether it's in dollar stable form or in euro stable form? Will they open it up to those markets? Because that is where the Libra could actually make a global difference. And if, for example, Facebook opens up the dollar stablecoin in the Indian and the Filipino markets, will those countries ban Facebook the way China does? And then Facebook will have to make a giant decision. Do they lose 500 million users of India by giving them the US dollar as a stable coin that the Indian government may not appreciate very much, because then everyone in India will just be paying each other through Libra, through Facebook, instead of using their government currency.
Well,
And
so
I don't know if these questions have come up, but this is the only thing I'm really curious about.
yeah, well, and that last story about India, I mean, this may be the angle that the judge got, right? Is he got bribed by Facebook to make it legal so that they can launch something like this and make it all work. I don't know, but what you're saying is exactly correct. All of these like countries with really shitty fiat currencies, they look to the dollar as the store of value. Now, if they have access using something like Facebook, that's a massive disruption to their central banks, and they no longer have control over their monetary policy. And they may very well throw out companies like Facebook. But I mean, this is the dollar imperialism all over again, right? Like China's sort of way to like start getting influence was to build out a lot of Africa and a lot of other countries. And I think they're trying to incorporate WeChat into a lot of those countries so that they can use the digital yuan as sort of like the global store of value, medium of exchange, and so on. If Facebook Libra is maybe, it's possible that a lot of the central banks are behind it as a way to expand their influence into these third world countries and make them more puppet states of the US or Europe or something like that, rather than like being like this it might be a monetary imperialism play by some governments. I don't know.
Hey,
Well,
hey,
so
Jimmy.
I'm very skeptical.
One second, Giacomo, 1 second. Jimmy,
Yeah.
people in the live chat are questioning if you're actually using the mic that's in front of you. So just may want to double check on settings.
Okay.
Giacomo, go ahead.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm super skeptical about this scenario, Tone, because the point is, if it's possible to think that India will not ban Indian people from transacting US dollar on Facebook Pay or Libra, then why isn't Apple Pay, Google Pay, PayPal trying to achieve the same? And why aren't just all the good commercial banks trying to achieve the same? Why is not Goldman Sachs or any other MasterCard, any other legacy payment system trying to achieve the same? I mean, from one side, people could say Facebook has more money and more power than PayPal. Sure, but PayPal has more established relationship, lobbying relationship with politicians. Even if not PayPal, think about Mastercard and Visa and traditional commercial banks. They have more money than Facebook, and they are not the newcomer. Like Facebook is a newcomer from another market which already had a lot of pressure from the political point of view because of the privacy of data and Cambridge Analytics and stuff like that. So it's very adversarial with the government. And if that was possible to open up for Facebook the freedom to let Indian user using dollars, that privilege would be already sized by more traditional incumbent fiat systems, because they are in better relationship with the government, with less privacy concerns, with more money actually, and more lobbyists which know the politicians since longer. Like Facebook is the new kid in town, while Mastercard is already pretty established. So if that scenario is even possible politically, Indian people using a centralized platform to move US dollar, I don't see how Facebook can achieve that before Mastercard. The only possibility is a very science fiction like one. It is that basically Facebook is somehow even more powerful than banks and Mastercard and Visa altogether, because they have information about the single politicians. Like Facebook could actually blackmail bureaucrats, judges, and politicians. This is the only take that will make this scenario anyhow realistic at all, in my opinion.
Yep. No, thank you for that, Giacomo. And not just MasterCard, but this is a chance for me to do a little tiny plug before we quickly move on to our last story. And I don't have my own website on here because Coinbase isn't prepared as usual, but we will get to my website. And while that loads, this is a plug for my favorite MasterCard that I use around the world, which is the Embly card with the MasterCard logo, which is has been working for me amazingly everywhere. So, and what the hell is wrong with the Coinbase.com website? Let's try this one more time. And so check that out. And if you are interested in a Bitcoin debit card, please check out the affiliate page of Coinbase.com. And there is Emily. You can actually only get this card through an affiliate link because they are technically still in beta, but it works pretty much everywhere. I've never had any issues anywhere in the world. Okay, final story, real quick. I think CoinDesk, want to be critical of any authors, but I thought this story was a little hard to understand as to who is violating privacy, whether it's Facebook or this company that does facial recognition. But somehow the sharing of data is happening everywhere. Facial recognition is becoming a serious thing, and it's not taking humanity in a good place. Just general thoughts, guys, on the concept of facial recognition and how the crypto space that is supposed to care about privacy completely doesn't. Thoughts? Oh, and I should probably share screen again.
Yeah. I wasn't seeing the story. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Hold on. I totally forgot that I went off screen share when I did everything just now. So back to screen share. This is the affiliate page. That's the Embly card I was pointing to, and this is our story on Coinbase being involved with facial recognition software.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is what KYC and AML laws kind of reduce you to, is that you have to run stuff like this if you want to be in compliance with the government. And sadly, this is why Coinbase is probably looking into this technology, and I expect that this will probably streamline the user signups and things like that, because you do have to upload your driver's license and dick pic and everything else. Yeah, so it gets kind of crazy, and this, they want to streamline it. It makes sense that they're looking at it. At least that's my take.
Yeah, so specifically about Coinbase, I think that this is an example of a very bad company. I mean, it's true what Jimmy says, that you are forced to do that if you want to be an exchange. You are forced to do KYC and AML compliance, but there is a difference in the way you try to face with this imposition. So consider, for example, Hodl Hodl. Hodl Hodl, it's an exchange. The guys at Hodl Hodl, they built an exchange without custody so that they are not forced to do KYC. And they said, if they force us to do KYC, we will just close down. And they released open source the code of the exchange so that everybody, in case they close down, can just move the order book somewhere else. So if you go to a custodial counterexample, you have like a Bull Bitcoin in Canada. Bull Bitcoin, they basically said, okay, we are doing KYC AML of our users, but we cannot do on-chain analysis. Actually, we have to use CoinJoin because we are compliant with the GDPR-like privacy laws. So since we are not supposed to know private facts of our users if they don't authorize explicitly, we cannot have the means. It's irresponsible for us to be able to follow on chain what they do. So we will do KYC ML of the people who interact with us. So if you buy or sell on Bulk Bitcoin, you do KYC ML, but they will conjoin automatically in order to be compliant with the privacy regulations, so that they cannot follow you elsewhere. So some business, they have to face regulation limitation if they want to operate with Bitcoin. But you can fight with honor, and you can try to seize opportunity windows to stay the less compliant possible in order to help your user. Coinbase is exactly the other extreme. They acquired Neutrino, which was a company created by some Italians that, as a job, they were basically spying on civilians for murderous dictatorships in order to kill political opponents, and they acquired these guys, and now they are testing Clearview. Basically, they are focusing 100% on fighting against the privacy of the users. So Neutrino and Clearview and Facebook and CoinDesk, they are not like an example of a business forced by the government to do something. They are an example of a business which is actually focusing their product onto expanding, and improving the reach of the government over people. They are just trying to help governments to do even more and even better total surveillance. So they are just pivoting to be some kind of giant the big brother machine. So it's true that they are forced to do that, but they really like to do that. It's their core business. Coinbase is famous for closing down without any kind of alert WikiLeaks account, keeping their money, and other accounts linked to political activists. So I don't think we should just say, I mean, okay, this is the way it goes. This is clearly evil. Of course, we can fight it with technology. We can fight it with alternatives, improving decentralized exchanges like BSQ, improving some solutions like Tether that can be exchanged in a secondary market without KYC-ML. You have to do KYC-ML when you buy Tether, but then you can move around Tether without KYC-ML AML with Bitcoin, which is already a step forward. So there is a lot of ways you can improve, or you can improve non-custodial exchanges like HODL HODL. There are a lot of ways to fight, and Coinbase are fighting on the literally on the opposite side of the barricade here.
All right, thanks for all that, Giacomo. And this actually concludes our stories. I am going to talk about price in a minute. I just want to give a couple of updates. I am at the moment, I am in Cape Town, South Africa. We will be having a meetup here this Friday. If you are watching from Cape Town and you're not aware that there's a meetup coming up, March 6th, Friday, 6 p.m. Come join us. You should be able to just Google this and find it. I will also next week headed to Johannesburg to speak at the Blockchain Africa conference. It's going to be a lot of fun. Check it out. And as far as my own events go, the Financial Summit is happening in the Dominican Republic, April 19 to 25, and Understanding Bitcoin is still on track. Hopefully, Italy will open up its borders. I think they're about to go under quarantine. This area of Europe is it will be fine by the time the conference rolls around. I am fully confident. So May 28 to 31. Hopefully we can get Jimmy and over there as well, Giacomo. We need to have a call about like organizing all of this together, but it will absolutely happen. Jimmy, what can we plug for you? This is my affiliate page. Guys, please come over there and support. And of course, programming bitcoin.com for Jimmy.
Yeah, so my book is available on Amazon. It's available in English. You can find it in Korea. It's in Korean. I found out recently that it's also available in Polish. So that's something that you can go get as well. Programming block. The other book is the Little Bitcoin book. That is available in English, Spanish, Portuguese. We're very close on Hindi. We're very close on Turkish. We're pretty close on Vietnamese. We're close in a bunch of other languages as well. But that's also happening. It's also available in audiobook and so on. Programming blockchain, next one is going to happen right before Bitcoin 2020, which is continuing on despite the coronavirus stuff in San Francisco. So I'll be teaching there March 25th and 26th. You can see all the great testimonials there. But that's what I'll be doing. The next conference after Bitcoin 2020 will be in Istanbul. It's the Istanbul Blockchain Week, and we'll be giving out the Turkish version of the Little Bitcoin book to every attendee, I believe. So it's very exciting, and that's it for me.
All right, very cool. Giacomo, what can we plug for you other than Zux? What are you working on these days?
So I'm very bad at communication and organizing. So you just have Twitter so far for me. Yeah, sure. You can follow zaxbucks.win. Yeah, and you should buy Zax. Yeah, this one. But if you want to follow me, you just follow me on Twitter. I have to do a website. I will do a website, but I'm so lazy and so unorganized. I have to say one thing though. I don't have anything to share right now, but I want to start sharing soon some courses. The courses that we did in Unconfiscatable, the Running Bitcoin course, was possible just because Tone and his team, Mike and others, they helped me with the organization. Because otherwise, I think I'm good at teaching, but I'm very bad at organizing. So without Tone and without Mike, that course would not have happened. But I really liked it, and people there liked it. So we will do again, and we will do one more, possibly maybe around the understanding Bitcoin, and maybe New York for the blockchain week. I don't know exactly where, but I will absolutely do a new version of this workshop. So stay tuned, and we will use the same communication channel. And maybe I will move my ass and create a website as well.
All right, perfect, guys. I'm gonna let you go. I got about 5 minutes before I gotta go and eat a steak here in South Africa, and I'm gonna take a look at the price of both S&P 500 and Bitcoin. You're free to stick around, or we will say goodbye to you guys.
Fiat
Bye. I will watch
This
it
song is
online.
done.
Bye.
All right, bye, guys. All right, let's take a look, a quick peek. Let's walk away from the Zux scam coin, and let's take a quick peek at the price of Bitcoin. We will see what's going on. Um, Nothing changes. Whatever I said yesterday on the show, everything is the same. We can look at the daily chart, and you can see how the current candle of the daily chart is fully within yesterday's candle. So that means nothing's changing. The 200-day moving average is slightly supporting the price of Bitcoin. And but here's the thing. So we can almost the longer we consolidate here, here's what it means. I can now take this red line and I can move it up. I can move it up as high as maybe the bottom of that big one candle. I can also take this green line and I can slightly move it down to the top of those bodies. So what we're doing is we're contracting the no trade zone. So the no trade zone, basically now I can move up this arrow saying that, hey, we no longer need to fall below 83.80. All we need to do now is fall below 8,500. And the price will probably fall and fall hard. On the flip side, it's if we spend another day or two below this green line at 8,900, we can take this big green arrow, and instead of waiting for 9,800 before the price explodes to new swing highs, we can almost lower this arrow to here. Now, I'm lowering this arrow a little prematurely because you guys know I'm a perpetual bear, and the last thing I want is for Bitcoin to go up, which is not actually true, but that seems to be the dominant position of the crypto trolls. But we can almost lower this arrow, saying that all Bitcoin needs to do at this point is go above 9,000, which I think it's going to struggle. But if it doesn't, then Bitcoin can certainly explode higher. So I become a lot more bullish on Bitcoin above this top, but I need another candle because I don't know if I'll do a video tomorrow because I have no idea where I'm going to be. So just in case, if we skip a day and then we start to rise after March 7th, I will be a lot more bullish. Now, that is my view on Bitcoin. And now for the S&P 500, the S&P 500 is looking, is this the latest data? Let me refresh this. And, oh, beautiful. So yesterday, I mean, I was disappointed in the close, but I did not exit my position. And now it's looking pretty good again. I would love to see a green 2 above a green 1, above this 9. And that creates an awesome continuation of this rise. We will strongly reevaluate this rise as we hit the next level of resistance. around the moving averages. But until we get to those moving averages, I am still fairly bullish here. This is the Dow Jones, and it's looking very, very similar. This is the futures market, and for now, I remain holding my bullish position in the S&P 500. I would strongly consider getting out of my bullish position in the S&P 500 around the 3,200 area of the S&P, but we will evaluate that as we get there. But for now, it's all systems go. I am still bullish S&P. As far as gold is concerned, I don't like this action. This is weird to me. I would not be in a gold position right now, which is exactly what I said yesterday. The interesting thing that I missed in my recent videos is oil. And you can see how beautifully oil has rebounded on a 9 sequential. And this is a pretty damn good week in oil. I don't like this double bottom. I think this is only going to be a 1 to 4 week up move. And then oil is most likely to correct lower. And on this note, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. It is actually gets cold here in the evening, and it's also time to go eat dinner. Thank you guys so much for watching another Bitcoin brief with Jimmy Song and Giacomo Zucco. We will try and bring you another one next week, and we'll keep these going at least once or twice a week, hopefully with some good stories and better preparation. We'll always do better next time, and thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't done it yet, please subscribe. It really helps this channel out a lot. Thank you guys, and talk to you all on the next one.